What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick, and I have an album review for you. Or rather, an EP review. Kind of decided to do this one solo because it was short and I had the time. And I really like this band, and I haven't had a chance to actually cover them in a review format. I've only had a chance to cover them in collection updates. So today, we're going over the latest offering from Grand Cadaver, The Rot Beneath. This also comes out on the 15th of August on Majestic Mountains Records. This band formed in 2020, COVID AD, in both Stockholm and Gothenburg. So this is like legit, kind of a cool meeting between the two most metal cities in Sweden, at least in my opinion. This is their second EP overall. I have both of their full lengths. Both of them are awesome. Again, you'd have to sift through collection updates to find out where I went over them. But this band is a supergroup, essentially, featuring current and former members of bands like Dark Tranquillity, Katatonia, Tiamat, Mr. Death, and Disrupted. And this is essentially like Bloodbath, except fronted by Michael Stan of Dark Tranquillity. Michael Stan has a lot of projects here lately, and I love the fact that he did a full-on HM2 death metal one, and it's been really solid so far. And honestly, that continues with this short 4-track EP. Right away, the thing that I noticed in terms of like a slight difference maybe from the full lengths is this sounds a little bit more like raw, a little bit more gritty. There's a little bit more sizzle to the guitars. Michael sounds absolutely fierce on here. Like you can tell he's putting more into his roars and growls to sound more aggressive, more sinister, but he doesn't lose his token, like very well enunciated growl. Like you can make out every word he says pretty much on here. The bass tone on here is great. The drums sound rich, and man, this thing has fucking riffs. And once again, it's pretty damn comparable to Bloodbath. And, by extension, Entomb, Dismember, the usual suspects. And while I say this isn't like rewriting the whole HM2 playbook, they do a good job of like not being just like kind of like meat potatoes overall. Like, yeah, this is riff driven. You have a lot of riffs that, are very familiar in terms of like their style. I mean, it's more of a Stockholm sound overall. But the use of melody injected in here, I think, is really effective. There's touches of melodeath to kind of open up the sound a bit. Really good like riff harmonies and such. No solos on here, which, kind of a bummer. But the riff work is awesome. There's really good atmospheric sections on here as well. Opens up with like some serious intensity with the opening track, Blood Red Banner. You get an isolated roar from Michael, and then it just takes off. It's fast, it's a little bit thrashy. Really sinister riff harmonies going into the chorus, which is a little bit more groovy. And there's some like sludgy, almost doomy aspects to this song, as well as the closer, Darkened Apathy, which really makes good use of like some almost like Death Doom-like moments, like switching gears from Bloodbath and kind of going into like a, I would say like a later Paradise Lost sound where they really started getting like super heavy again. The whole EP, all 16 minutes of it, I would say is just a good balance of riffy savagery and just like dark, very menacing, almost kind of somber melodies. And lyrically, this isn't all like blood, guts, and gore, and zombies and shit. Like there's some, seriously misanthropic lyrics in here. The title track in particular, there is a repeated refrain on the chorus. What are we if not the cause of the problem? Which is followed by what are we if not the rot beneath? It kind of roughly, looks at humanity's folly with a very pessimistic microscope and determines that, well, yeah, we kind of suck. And again, I mean, if you watch the news enough, and I would say just about any country right now, especially any country talking about ours, the news isn't great. Often it's either grim or stupid. And at least as far as grim, a lot of the melodies in here kind of capture that. This has like a very foreboding feel overall in terms of like the overall album. It feels dark, it feels ominous. At times it feels very oppressive, Darkened Apathy especially. There's lumbering breakdowns. The opening of that song has an isolated, gloomy guitar lead in, and then it just builds from there. And just when you think it's like kind of like just gonna lure you down into a pit of misery, it explodes into some flat out like awesome like Dismember style tremolo harmonies. It's driven by some punchy D beats, and then it goes right back into that gloomy chorus. And the breakdown on that song in particular is just dark and menacing and just kind of like squeezes all the fucking hope out of your body. Endless Dead does have like some brighter, more, melodeath-ish riffs. Comes in very aggressive, big machine gun riffs, but The chorus on it has this like very classic like In Flames, Hypocrisy style kind of stomp. It's got a flat out good solid mellow death sort of like hook to it, but it's played with these like, you know, gnarly HM2 guitars. So it sounds more dark and more sinister. And yeah, overall, like, this is just a solid, well-rounded EP. Every track, I think, kind of has something a little bit different. And while all their stuff is dark, I would say, the tone of this one feels a little bit grittier, and I think that kind of, you know, plays into the production too. It's fiercely old school, but it doesn't sound basic. Again, the riff work on here, there's like some cool intricacies to it. The melodies really stand out. And throughout the short listen, again, you get this good balance of like more aggressive tunes to more like dismal, somber tunes. In terms of any negatives, I mean, well, yeah, it is only 16 minutes, but it's an EP that's pretty fair for the length of an EP, I would say. And I will say that Endless Dead, while I like it, I feel like it kind of lays on the chorus part a little bit too much. Like, it feels like it's mostly chorus. And it's also the shortest track on there, and it feels like it could be longer. Like, you know, a few sections around the bridge could be kind of like lengthened out a little bit. Like this one could have been the one they decided to throw a solo on. It could have worked there. I think, you know, the chorus riff is really solid. It just kind of lays on that, and then the rest of the song feels, you know, not as gripping, but still pretty decent. And in terms of like EPs, like, you know, I kind of look at them like, all right, you generally have, like, at least in my opinion, 3 different kinds. Ones that are designed to stand alone, ones that are a teaser for material to come, and ones that sound like leftovers from the previous album. And this one feels more along the lines of a standalone one. It has, like, again, like kind of a grittier, sort of dirtier vibe than I would say the full lengths. And while all their material definitely hangs out in one particular kind of sound for the most part, like you do get a little bit of mellow death in their sound, but for the most part, this is just straight up HM2 death metal. But the tone and the vibe on here, it feels just like a little bit different overall, and that kind of makes it stand out a bit. If this is a teaser for stuff to come, I'm already interested, and if these were leftovers from the last album, I mean, I think you left off some really good tracks, but, you know, I like that last album, so really not a huge complaint there. But yeah, overall, I'm going to give this 3.5 stars. This is a solid EP. Doesn't really do too much new in terms of, like, you know, the HM2 sound, or even kind of like pushing their sound forward. You know, it does have like a darker, sort of like more menacing tinge to it. And I do like the, you know, more raw sounding production on here. But baseline, this is just solid HM2 death metal with maybe like a little bit more in the way of like melody in terms of like, you know, harmonies and, you know, lead melodies and such. It doesn't just kind of like lean into the tone to kind of create that heaviness, because I mean, it's the HM2 tone. It's the fucking heaviest fucking tone out there, in my opinion. It creates some really solid riffs and good solid melodies in there without leaving the HM2 death metal arena. If you're a big fan of Bloodbath, especially, but again, also Dismember, Entombed, you know, maybe a touch of Grave in there too, even some Unleashed as well. Check this EP out. Pretty solid stuff. So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We also have memberships. They're only 99 cents, and our Lone Perk is doing a members-only live stream, which we will eventually find time for. It's just been tough with juggling schedules right now. Right now, Shred is very busy with some life stuff, which is why we didn't get down to the At the Gates ranking, but we will eventually when things kind of, you know, slow down a little bit. Either way, memberships are the main way to support the channel, and there is a join button down there for you to smash and punch and, I don't know, you know, do whatever you want to it. It's fine. I've never heard that thing complain once. And of course, thank you guys for liking, subscribing, following, commenting, all the stuff that makes this channel so fucking worthwhile. We love doing this, and we have a ton of content planned for you. I have a whole bunch of videos that I need to edit in terms of like future content. But yeah, like, you guys are like large in part one of the main reasons why we love doing this. This community that, you know, we've built around here and with other YouTubers, it's been, again, one of the coolest things I think I've done in my life, which sounds kind of lame, I guess, in perspective with people with more successful lives, I guess. I don't know how to put that, but I don't care. I love it. It's amazing, and you guys are large in part one of the reasons why it is. So one more big thank you, because you guys are awesome, and we will catch you later.